This video is brought to you by my supporters on Patreon. Hi guys, I'm here with a video showing you how I made the smaller details on the costume part of my Magical Girl Diva cosplay. So this video will include things like the hearts, the bows, and her brooch. Right here I'm working on the hearts. I made them from 6mm EVA foam. I cut them out at this point. I lost the earlier footage, I'm sorry. And I've also sanded the edges using my Dremel. When it came to sanding, I kept the inner edge straight, but then I kind of rounded out the outer edges, as you can see here. After they were all sanded, they were ready to go and be primed with wood glue. I did about 3 to 5 layers. There's an evil inside that is looking way down. Once they were primed, I painted them with a couple coats of acrylic paint and then topped it off with a coat of clear glossy spray paint. Disappeared. Can you say that I wasn't there for you when you went into hiding on the front steps of your porch? And I reflected on the memories, but I used my Dremel to sand down the back so glue would adhere to it better and glued it onto the costume, although that part is in a later video. Now I worked on her brooch. To make the brooch, I took strips of pink fabric sewed over the edges so that they were nice and clean looking, and made loops out of them. And I sewed those two loops together, and the bow part of her brooch was done. Can you say that I disappeared? Can you say that I wasn't there for you when you went into hiding on the front steps of your porch? The bunny head part of her brooch was made out of 2mm EVA foam, which is this purple foam, and 4mm EVA foam, which is the black foam that you'll see here in a second. I layered the two pieces on top of one another after sanding down the top piece, this purple piece, first to make sure that was all nice and smooth, since I wouldn't be able to reach it later after it was glued on top of the black piece. And then I sanded around the edges of the black bunny head to make sure everything was nice and smooth. Then I primed it with wood glue, painted it with acrylics, and glued it on to the bow using contact cement. I also glued the two pieces together using contact cement as well. That's what I'm looking for. That's what I'm looking. Now I started to make the bows for her costume. So all of the bows are red, and so I chose to make them out of this red satin fabric. To start off, I took all of my strips of fabric for the bows, including the loop pieces and the pieces that are going to end up being tail ends, because yes, I did make those two separate pieces, and I folded over the edges of all of those to make a nice clean hem. In, and now we're running down the halls. No, we can't let them win. There's an evil inside that is lurking way down below, and if I can't hold to my breath. Once I pinned the sides or the hems down on all all of these rectangles, there was many of them, I went ahead and started sewing them. This also took quite a while because, again, there were many pieces to these bows.
Can you tell me where you want to be in time? There's a million different places and a million different heights. I'll climb the tallest.
Now it was time to start turning these strips of fabric into bows. To do that, I took the parts that were made to be the loop fabric and made them into loops by folding both sides into the center, pinning that in place and gathering it. So I scrunched everything down towards the center and then sewed those shut so that the bows wouldn't come undone and everything was nice and gathered. I also took the tail ends of the bows and gathered those in the center and sewed those down. Then I took the part that's supposed to be the band that covers the gather in the center and wraps around both the bow and the tail part, or the loop in the tail part, and sewed that shut so that it was one whole loop. On some of the bows, like the smaller bows, I pinned the tail end and the loops together in the center where I had previously gathered them and sewed those together so that they were sewed and so that they were sewed together and they were nice and secure. And then I slid those pieces through the loops so that the loop sat around the center and hand sewed just a little part of it on in the back to make sure it was secure. I also attached black lace to the ends of the tail ends of the bow, but I did not get footage of that, so I am sorry.
What I'm looking for.
Once all of the bows were assembled, they were ready to be attached to the costume, which you will see in a later video. For this video, that is all. I hope you guys found this helpful. Sorry some of these clips were so short or I had very little footage of these pieces. I hope it was helpful anyways. Thanks for watching. Have a lovely day and bye.